Well, hi everybody, and welcome back. Happy New Year. It's 2021, it's January, and we're going to continue making some videos. So hopefully you guys had a great break, and you're ready to get back into this. And this week, we're going to work on some special effects videos. Now, this assignment was done with my intro to video class a couple weeks ago, so I'm just going to cut back to that video. So go ahead and take a look at my special effects project. What is this week's video going to be about? I know. Let's make it a special effects project. Let's go film a time lapse. All right, this time lapse is going to be epic. I'm going to shoot some footage from the car. I'm going to go to that pedestrian bridge. I can't wait, but hold on. It's pretty cold. I think I need a jacket. Yeah, that's better. All right, let's go make a movie. Did I forget anything? Nope, I'm good. So that is our special effects video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed my adventures in time lapse. Now, this week you're going to learn 4 special effects techniques. Unfortunately, one of the 4 techniques is not able to be done in WeVideo. So you can't reverse footage in WeVideo. So if you have another app that you like to use reverse, great. If not, just forget about it and we'll just focus on those first 3 different special effects. So you're going to film a special effects project that uses slow motion, time lapse, and the VanishAppear. Reverse if you're able to, but don't worry about it. You're also going to then upload that video to your Google Drive folder and attach the video to the assignment in Google Classroom. So that way I will be able to see your videos, and I can't wait to see the fun special effects. You can even experiment with some of the green screen footage. There's a lot of stock media and things like that in WeVideo that you should explore. See what you can figure out. We'll get into more specifics on that part of it later, though. Okay, so, all right, let me go back to my other video. Okay, so the first of the 4 effects that we're going to cover is time lapse. So here's a time lapse video that I made a few years ago. Just while driving home from spring break. So when you're filming time-lapse footage, look for objects that appear to have a great change over time. So cars, clouds, waves, etc. can all look interesting in a time-lapse. Just have patience, because usually a time-lapse is just 1 or 2 frames per second, and then when you play that back at real time, it's 25 times fast, 50 times fast, something like that. And so if you record out of a car window for a minute, plan on that only making a few seconds of footage. So each time every clip here is about a minute of me holding my camera very steady so I can film. And the more you can see in a shot, the better. If you film out of the side window, you don't always get the same effect that you would if you go out the front window of the car where you can see more things happening and give it time to unfold. So time-lapse can be a lot of fun. I know a lot of phones have that as an option. In my example, I shot it with both my phone and with a GoPro. I even have time-lapse on my DSLRs that I use, but since I was filming myself, how to use those, and we'll cut to that in just a second so you can learn all about how to do time-lapse. Woo! I am glad I brought my jacket. So here I am on top of a pedestrian bridge in Oregon City right by Willamette Falls, and what I'm doing is recording a time-lapse with a GoPro. So what I did is I just set it up and I'm just leaving it so I can get footage for a long time. Now, cars look great in a time lapse because there's going to see a lot of change over time. So I'm just going to let that go for 5-10 minutes and I'll see what I come up with. I'm also doing the same thing with my phone, so if you don't have a GoPro, iPhones, and I imagine Android phones do too, have a time-lapse feature. So let me show you what that looks like. So here I just have my cell phone propped up on my cell phone tripod, but it would work from a coffee cup tripod along the side of the road, whatever you want to do for that. And I'm just going to record the footage of the highway. You can see the cars are going by really slowly, but then when it plays back in fast motion, it looks great. And then I added a little bit of panning and zooming to give it a little bit more interest. So that's how you record a time lapse. Okay, so in addition to time lapse, we also have slow motion. And slow motion is really important that you adjust your frame rate before you just slow something down, because normal video has a frame rate of 24 to 30 frames per second. So this example here of me on a skateboard was filmed at 120 frames per second, just filmed using my iPhone, and then it automatically slows it down. So you're still getting a normal frame rate, but it looks like it's in slow motion. So if you were to just slow this down from a normal footage, it would look really choppy. But because there are additional frames as you slow it down, it looks pretty good. So let me explain how different frame rates affect your slow motion with this example of me juggling some golf balls. Okay, so when you're recording in slow motion, you gotta think about your frame rate. Right now, this camera that I'm using is recording at 24 frames per second. In normal speed, that motion looks fine. In fact, 24 frames per second gives you the most natural look that the human eye sees. So in real time, it might look like this. However, if I want to slow that down and I'm filming at 24 frames per second, if I make this half speed, it's only 12 frames per second. Let's see how that looks. So when you want to slow things down, you have to go to a higher frame rate. On my DSLR, I can go as high as 60 frames per second, and let me show you what that looks like. I'm now going to be filming at 60 frames per second. So if you look at this in real time, it doesn't have a normal amount of motion blur. It's almost too crisp. But if I'm planning on slowing this down to 50%, let's see how that looks. So 60 frames per second at half speed is really 30 frames per second, which looks very similar to 24, and it's a very natural look. If I want to go any slower than 60 frames per second and want to slow things into maybe 25% or even slower than that, I need to go up to a frame rate such as 120 or 240 frames per second. Now, I can't do that on my DSLR. That's a very expensive feature. However, you can do that on a cell phone. So on my iPhone, I'm going to shoot at both 120 frames per second and at 240 frames per second. And I want you to notice the difference for how each shot looks. This first example you're going to see in slow motion is done at 120 frames per second. So if I want to slow that down significantly, it'll still look great. Now let's take a look at what it's going to look at 240 frames per second. When I want to switch to 240 frames per second on my iPhone 11, I have to use the rear-facing camera. So hopefully it's framed up okay. So those are your 4 different frame rates that you can try filming in. Depending on what camera you have, it's going to be a little bit different. So test that out and see how you can use slow motion in your special effects project. All right, the vanish and appear effect. You've probably seen me do this in lots of videos. If I ever want to change locations from one place to another, I might snap my fingers or add some different effects. Sometimes I jump and spin. But real basically, to pull off this effect, what you need to do is film an actor or a subject somewhere, and then remove them and keep filming the scene. So in this video here, I'm sitting on the couch, and then I'm going to walk away from the shot, but I'm going to continue filming the couch. Then what I do is I cut to myself just appearing, and magically, it just looks like I've just shown up. It helps to sell the effect by jumping into a shot or snapping or doing something like that. You can add some sound effects to it too, but the VanishAppear is a really fun way to pull off these sorts of shots. Just make sure to keep your camera super, super still. So watch this tutorial and see how you can vanish and appear in your video. So for this one, it's really easy. All you have to do is keep your camera very, very steady. So make sure to use some sort of stabilization device. Maybe that coffee cup tripod you used, but it's got to be perfectly still for this effect to work. Now, all I'm going to do is I'm going to film this couch without me on it, and then I'm going to appear. Now, when I appear, I'm going to act like I just showed up, okay? So let me demonstrate. And then if I want to vanish, all I have to do is just go away. But usually adding some sort of effect works nicely, so maybe I'll snap. When I go to edit that, I have just appeared. Now you can do all sorts of things like that. You could... This can work with all sorts of things. So you could just have like a hat appear or something. You just need to make sure you're perfectly still. So all of a sudden be in one motion. All right. Scooter, you made it! Hi, buddy! So, or you can do a close change. Let's see if he stays perfectly still. Now, and if anything in the background changes, the shot's going to look weird. See how you can just magically edit all those in? It's all just by having a cut with making sure everything else in the background has changed, even your lighting. So when I go to edit this, this might look a little weird. And see, now that the dog's moving, I can't use this part of the shot if I wanted to cut anything away. But now that he's still, and that is how you do the vanish and appear. All right, we also have, I think our final effect that we're going to look at is reverse. So reverse is real simple. You just film something, but then flip it around in the editing software. So whether that's Clipchamp or iMovie, you can generally click reverse fairly easily. You can try and find that in there. And then just put your clip in reverse. This clip looks great in reverse. This is a student a couple years ago jumping over another student. And then when we put it in reverse, it kind of has this magical effect. So whatever you want to end up filming, and yeah, here's a footage of me frying an egg this morning in reverse. It looks kind of neat when you see a big change. And there's some awesome examples that I'm going to show you that I found on YouTube as well. So by using all these different effects, reverse, slow motion, time lapse, and the vanish effect, you can really make things look pretty neat in a video. All right, so here's some examples. This is a video that I found online and just has all sorts of cool things that just look great in reverse. So, you know, he's got a can here, and when he crushes it, it looks great. This is you'll see, is a water balloon being popped. Looks pretty cool as that comes back in reverse. So there are all sorts of things. You can watch that to get some ideas. Here's a video that I made. Let me jump ahead. This was from last spring. But you can see filming clouds when they're moving by fairly quickly looks amazing when you put it in time lapse, and you can play around with the speed. So clouds can be a cool option also. This video explains time lapse in great detail if you want to take a look at that. So all of that is available on the YouTube channel, but also right here in the slides as well. So take a look at any of these resources to help you with that. Here is a tutorial video that I watched in order to learn that crash through effect that I used a couple weeks ago when I crashed through the computer screen into the studio. So I highly recommend checking out this effect. Now, this is all explained and how do you do the effect in Final Cut, but really there's nothing too fancy about this effect. You should still be able to do something similar to it just with Clipchamp or iMovie. So if you want to try that, I highly recommend taking a look at it. This guy's got some really neat special effects videos, so go check out his channel. All right, let's take a break and go to our secret word. All right, guys, today's secret word is snowboarding. That's right, it's snowboarding. Hopefully you had a nice winter break and you're ready to make some movies. So remember, guys, secret word, snowboarding! So there you have it. Snowboarding is the secret word. Go ahead and make sure you put that on this week's weekly quiz so that you can get credit for this week's assignment. Now, I would love to see your videos. Please turn those in as well, but go ahead and put that secret word onto the form that's linked to the assignment. All right, so you're going to add some music to your video. Now, WeVideo has music directly in it. If you click on the music tab in the, or the sound it's in My Media, something like that, you'll be able to just add music directly and add it to your timeline. But you can also go to bensound.com and find songs that you like. You can go to a variety of places. Okay, if you are able to download music as a WAV file or an MP3, it should work just fine for adding it into your video. You could have the music that's directly inside WeVideo. There's some really good options, but you could also check out Bensound or wherever you like to find your music. However, you cannot use copyrighted music, so you can't just put your favorite Taylor Swift song on. You have to have music that you have the rights to, and there are lots of places you can find that. All right, so you can also add some sounds. Sound effects are great to add. Here's a little video that I'd love you to take a look at. It's all about Foley artists and what goes into creating the sounds that you hear when you're watching videos. So it's really fascinating. I highly recommend you check it out. But you can also go to other places like Purple Planet for music. You can go to Bensound for music, like I said on the last slide, or the Free Music Archive. There are a lot of different places. Sound Bible is great for sound effects. You can also try recording your own. So if you need a running water sound in your video, go ahead and turn sync on with your voice memo recording on a phone. You can still get great sound effects that you can create and then add them just in your timeline as a media file. All right, so right before break, we learned those 3 different in-camera transitions that you use for your joke of the day: the walking into the frame, the cover reveal, and the whip pan. These are not exclusive to a joke of the day, so try and work them into your special effects video if you can. Just want to really build on the different skills that we've learned so far. All right, so just to review and wrap things up, we have learned our 4 special effect techniques. You may only be able to do 3, and that's totally fine. Don't worry about reverse. Then you're going to upload that video to Google Classroom, and you're going to hand it in as well. So make sure you hand in your video. Make sure you take the weekly quiz, and then we will be in good shape. So as always, I will be in office hours every day from 1:30 to 2:20. Please send me an email if you're going to come, or you can just drop by on Tuesday or Thursday. But if you let me know in advance, I'll make sure I'm there for you, and I'll make sure I have time to walk you through this. So that's it, Herons. Never stop creating, and I'll see you in the next video.